Hey guys, my name's Joey and welcome to Drinks Tube. So I've been making cocktails for about 15 years, which is quite a long time. I've been drinking coffee for about the same amount of time. And one of the most amazing things that we're seeing in our industry right now, one of the biggest developments, is the appreciation and evolution of coffee culture. Coffee culture in roasteries, in drinking habits, and especially in cocktails. So I want to find out more about it. So we've come down to Climpson Sons in the heart of East London. I've come to see my friends Matt and Dan. These guys are serious coffee experts. And I'm going to find the best espresso to make one of my favorite cocktails, the Espresso Martini. Let's go. Guys, remember to get your questions in, give any comments, say hello.
Nice.
Hello.
Hello there, how you doing?
How are we doing?
So this is Matt. Hi, this is Dan. These guys from Climpson Sons Coffee Roastery here in London Fields. And let's find out a little bit more about what you guys do.
So we are the training department at Climpson's. I'm the head of training, and Matt's my right-hand man. And yeah, we take care of all of our wholesale accounts and do lots of education, trainings, talks, and so on.
Amazing. And how long have you guys been here for?
I've been here for 4 years. So
Okay,
quite a
great.
while.
We've been roasting out of here for around about 6 years.
Great, amazing. So pretty much when the whole coffee cultural explosion happened in London, you guys were leading it right at the start.
Yeah, and this is where it all happens. So this is where the green coffee comes in and sits here, like you can see it here. And then we sample roast things and we test little bits of it to see how it's going to work
Amazing.
before we take it on to the big thing.
Cool. We've got people watching from quite a few places. Gina Randall says hi, Joey. Lucas
Gina.
is watching from Brazil.
Wow.
We've got James in Montreal.
Right here.
There you go.
There's
your
your
home.
coffee.
And Jay Morris said, coffee and alcohol, what could be better?
Indeed.
Good point, yeah.
So can you talk us through some of the stuff that we've got around here?
Yeah, I might take you over to the bad boy over here. This is the main piece. If this were an art exhibition, let's say. This is our coffee roaster. It was made in California. One of the great things about it is it works on hot air. A lot of coffee roasters work with a flame, and with flame sometimes you get smoke, and we don't want smoke. We want really clean tasting, unique flavors in every single coffee we do. So basically what happens is the coffee gets sucked up in this thing here, into the heated drum,
This is your coffee before.
Nice.
into the heated drum, and then the coffee begins to heat up. And then our roasters work with a very, very specific set of parameters. And as soon as the coffee's ready and it's brown, essentially we turn green things brown. You'll see that in a second. The coffee will come out in here. And just below here, this thing here, is a giant extractor fan. Because we have a really specific set of parameters for the coffee, we need it to cool down really fast. If you think of it a little bit like if you're making Scotch egg or something like that. If you take the egg out, you might want to plunge it in ice water straight away to keep that yolk really runny and delicious.
Nice. We've got people watching in Bosnia and Taiwan
Wow,
and
really?
Hull as well.
Hull.
And Hull.
How exotic.
Hull.
Hello, Hull.
That's cool, man. That's quite a bit of kit.
Yeah, and we have lots of kind of tactile bits to use. So we have this thing here, which means at any point in the roast, the roaster can take out a little bit of coffee, smell it, have a look at it, because it's not just kind of scientific equipment that we use, it's also our taste and all our senses. We have a little window here which gives us a view on the coffee at all times.
It's craft and science combined.
Yeah.
Nice.
Amazing. What a combination. Yeah.
Cool. So you showed us the green beans a minute ago.
Sure.
Yeah.
So can we have a little look
Okay,
more?
yeah, so I've got some samples for you here that we took from the roaster at different stages of the roast. This is the green coffee, like I just showed you. This is how it comes to us. It's raw processed coffee. Yellow staging, Maillard, browning. This is the first crack, so basically it behaves very, very like popcorn at this point, and it pops and cracks and hisses and moves around. It's quite strange. And then after the crack, we develop the coffee until the end of the roast, and then we take it out. So basically, it goes from this to this, and this tastes weird and grassy, and this tastes delicious and sweet and chocolatey.
So Dan, would you ever use any of these beans to make coffee with, or does it have to get to that stage? before
I
you really
wouldn't.
use
No,
it?
I wouldn't at all. I mean, when you're at this stage, it tastes kind of peanutty. It's quite weird, and then it sort of tastes a bit like biscuity, maybe a little bit cakey, and some sweetness developing here. And then when you get to the end, that's when you've got all of those fully developed, delicious,
That's it, well.
fruity, chocolatey flavors.
And when it gets to that stage, that's when you cool it with the big extractor fan.
Exactly. So yeah, it needs to cool straight away. It comes out kind of over 200 degrees. So if it doesn't cool straight away, it will carry on cooking.
Nice. We've got people. We've saying good morning from LA with a cup of coffee. Cheers from Mexico. And Gina said, I bet this place smells incredible.
It really does. It really does. I've been here all day, as you can tell by the coffee stain.
Let's have a closer
My
look
shirt.
at that, Joey.
Let's get into that.
That's a man who
Never wear
works
a white
hard.
shirt when you're
Never
filming
wear a
espresso
white
martinis. That's my one tip.
We just generally smell of coffee most of the time.
So I'm here today because I want to find the perfect coffee to make the perfect espresso martini.
Cool.
So I'm looking for something quite chocolatey, it's a dessert style cocktail for after dinner. So I want something grounded, something with a bit, as I say, caramelly, chocolatey flavors. You guys roast a lot of varieties here.
Yeah, we do,
What would you recommend for my espresso martini?
So for your classic espresso martini, you're probably going to want, like you say, chocolatey, caramelly flavors that are already kind of familiar when coming to the palate.
Exactly, yeah.
So where we'd probably take you origin-wise, we'd probably take you to Brazil. South American coffee.
We've got watches in Brazil as well. We're coming
Right,
for
Brazil.
you.
How about that? Brazil.
You've got to get flavors of chocolate from Brazil. It's slightly lower grown than something like an African coffee or a Central American coffee. So that promotes flavors of chocolate, of nuts, and a kind of low raisiness.
And when we're making our espresso, there's obviously a bit more to it than just grinding the coffee and putting it in.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen you guys working all day, and they are so precise and so particular. So it'd be great to have a little shot of that.
Yeah,
See what
let's
you guys
go.
are doing.
Let's do it.
Just while we're here, we've got people from Denmark and Romania.
All right.
And get your questions in as well about coffee and cocktails and all of those things. Get the questions coming in.
So when we're making an espresso or any coffee at all, it's really important to know how much coffee you're using and how much coffee you're going to get out. This is what we call a ratio, in the same way that you would when you're baking or anything like that. So if we know that, we can predict whether the coffee is going to be too acidic, maybe a little bit sour, too bitter or overdeveloped, or a little bit ashy or burnt, or right in that beautiful sweet spot. And we do loads of work with really geeky, boring scientific equipment in the back there that can take too long for this broadcast to understand, to make sure we get there. So I'm going to be brewing a South American coffee here now, and I'm going to use 18 grams of coffee in, and I'm going to get around about 40 grams of coffee out. So that's a ratio of 1 to 2.25. Again, there's lots of science behind why that might be so, but that'll take forever. So I've got a pre-weighed dose here. This is a fancy bit of equipment that isn't actually plugged in at the moment.
We are definitely live.
Yeah.
We're alive, all right. How about that?
There we go.
So Greg Burke has joined, and Thomas Andrew has said, what's the best extraction temperature when making coffee?
Well, it does really vary. Obviously, the temperature of the water has a big impact on the brew. If it's too cool, it will under-extract the coffee, it will sour. If it's too hot, it will over-extract the coffee and taste bitter. So our machine is set, factory set, Lamazocco set them at 93.5 degrees, which is a pretty good temperature to extract espresso.
And you mentioned the water there. Now I find this absolutely fascinating, that the water you guys use for your coffee machine, because obviously when you drink your coffee, the vast majority of it is water.
Yeah.
But you actually add different
This is top
minerals.
secret.
Is it really?
Nobody's supposed to know about this. No, this is a big thing in what we do. Water, of course, is 97-98% of your brew. So if you're using dishwater, your brew will taste like dishwater. So,
What are we up to there, Matt?
where are we?
So we're just about to pull the espresso. I've tamped, a nice even level tamp to make sure the water's all pulling through it nice and evenly. So I'm just going to engage my pump, and now the water's coming through here, around about a pressure of about 9 bars. 9 bars means above atmospheric pressure, basically. And hopefully we'll extract in a given amount of time. But this is live, so we might not.
Jay Morris has said, coming from a coffee snob, what sets a good coffee apart from a bad one?
Well, it depends,
Big question,
It
big
depends
question.
what you like out of coffee. So a lot of the time, people recognise coffee in a more traditional way. There's very sort of dark chocolate, nutty, chocolatey coffees. We like those as well, but also we like really acidic coffees, which if you're not used to drinking them, can be a bit weird. So like a lot of African coffees are very high acidity, very high grown coffees. So it depends really. I mean, whether you like acidic or whether you like chocolatey. But there are some fundamental things that will give you good coffee in terms of extraction.
There we go.
Perfect.
Aha!
Used for your classic espresso.
Classic Espresso Martini. It's interesting that you mentioned the acidity actually, and that's becomes very important when we're talking about cocktails, because cocktails are all about balance. And with coffee, with espresso, it's quite difficult to use citrus, which is what we would usually use to balance against sweetness. So that acidity that you get in specialty coffee really sets the difference and makes that difference in your cocktail. So let's go make one.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Before we get on with making it, can I just ask you guys, Reese has asked, how many coffees do you make in one day?
Depends how many people ask me to make. But usually, when we're working in cafe, really busy cafes, our cafe just round the corner, something like 500 to 600 a day. Not all personally made by one of us.
No. All made by Mel.
Yeah.
Cool. Joey?
Perfect. So we're going to do the Espresso Martini, classic Espresso Martini. With coffee, it's always best to try and use it as fresh as possible, because like all fresh ingredients, it will start to oxidize and the flavor will change as it goes. How long would you leave a coffee out before you think the flavor is going to really change it?
The brewed coffee.
So brewed espresso, yeah.
So with coffee, you would quite like it to cool down a little bit.
For sure.
So it's not too hot to...
To combat this, we're going to add it into the mix first, and then we're going to add our ambient temperature ingredients, which are going to help bring it down to room temperature. So we've got 30 mils of espresso there. I'm going to use 40 mils of Grey Goose vodka. Excuse my shakes. I've had a lot of coffee today. I'm going to use 20 mil coffee liqueur.
Nice.
Just 10 mil of a sugar syrup, so this is just equal parts caster sugar and water. And then I'm going to give it a really good shake. So with an espresso martini, you're trying to get as many air bubbles trapped in, and it's the oils that come from the espresso that really trap those bubbles and give it that distinctive frothy head on top. So the harder you shake, the more air you're putting into the drink, the more that air bubbles are going to be trapped, and the better it's going to taste. The texture is going to be phenomenal. Excuse my shake face. Talk amongst yourselves.
Fascinating.
One of our very own Drinks Tube talent, May, has said, haha, it's Jay! I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah. You are. Hi
Cool.
May, how are you?
And
Cool.
we've got a hello from Mexico as well.
Amazing. So very simply, I'm not going to double strain this because I want to capture as much of that frothy texture as possible. So you can see just how velvety it is, looking incredible. And to garnish, very simply, just 3 coffee beans dropped on top. There we go.
That looks great.
You guys want to try?
Yeah.
Please. Help yourself. Yeah.
Right, all right.
Get in.
I'm still on work hours, so it's...
Fine. I'll have a word with your boss. It'll be okay.
How are we looking?
No, it's delicious.
Yeah?
Yeah, really chocolatey.
Yeah?
Really nutty.
Getting all those
caramel.
flavours through?
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect.
Really good.
Wow, look at that, Brian said.
Beautiful texture.
And Lucy Croft said, yes, please. And Sophie's asked, other than an espresso martini, what other coffee-themed cocktails are there?
How interesting. Well, we're actually going to explore a few twists that you can do. But with coffee, it is evolving so much. Cold brew coffee is a big trend that we're seeing. So lots of people are doing cold brew Negronis, which is an incredible drink, I think. So, you know, bits of Campari style aperitif, some gin, and then cold brew coffee, which again adds that bitterness to it.
Yeah.
Or you can do with an orange vodka. Grey Goose L'Orange is perfect for it as well.
We also use the dried out husks of a coffee cherry. So coffee is actually the seed of a fruit. So we use the dried husks of a coffee cherry, which is called cascara, and they have a really distinctive flavour.
Yeah.
And we use that to brew our own soft drink. So we use that with blood orange and Earl Grey tea, and then we on a kind of warm day like this, it's great to add a little bit of gin to it.
It's
And
hot
that makes
today.
a nice.
Yeah,
nice
you are right in the sun actually, Mike. Can you take a step forward? That sounds good. So I reckon we should make one of these twists.
Okay, great. So I've been playing about with the cocktail for a while with Grey Goose L'Orange, which has this incredible, fresh, natural pear flavour. Using some maple syrup instead of the sugar syrup, and then we tone down the amount of coffee liqueur in there. Pear and maple syrup go fantastically. So what I'm looking for is something that's going to complement the pear, something that has maybe like a malic acidity, kind of green apple-y freshness to it, which is going to work with those pears.
Yeah, I mean, well, something springs to mind straight away, Central America.
Okay.
Malic acidity is the sort of acidity you find in apples and pears, as you just said, and they're definitely the flavors you get in Central American coffees. So we do have, like, El Salvador is in season at the moment, and we've got a few of those on at the moment, so I'd recommend an El Salvador.
Let's go for that.
All right, let's put a
Trust your
shot.
judgment.
Absolutely. Okay.
So Dan, we missed the tamping at this point.
Okay, right, sorry. I was just talking over him, as always.
all right.
What can you do? Cool, so I will talk you through the temp. So, again, it's all about using a ratio. I'm using the same ratio as Matt, but with a different coffee. And yeah, we'll have a little look. So let's see what we got. Very nice. With tamping, obviously you want it to be as level as possible. You don't want to press too hard, you don't want to press too lightly either. I usually give it a little prep just to level it off, and then elbow at a right angle and just push down until it comes to a natural stop. And then just give it a little spin. It's really important that it's totally level. If it's wonky, basically it will extract at different rates and you'll get uneven extraction, which will give you weird flavors. Okay, so our cup. Let's get going.
So you just pressed that on before you put the coffee in? What was that?
That was to flush the machine. So basically, if you don't flush the machine, the previous coffee will be stuck in the group. And what it's going to give you is basically going to extract old coffee into new coffee, and then your new coffee will start to taste like old coffee, and then the whole thing will be ruined. Your cocktail will be ruined. So it's really important. It's part of the process.
So we've got some more questions coming in about the Espresso Martini. Joey, I think this one might be for you, mate. What's the history of the Espresso Martini?
Espresso Martini was created by a gentleman called Dick Bradsell, who was an industry legend, one of the most important people in London's cocktail culture. Sadly, he passed away this year, which is a real shame, so I think we should dedicate one of these drinks to Dick. But it was made at the Atlantic Bar in the 1980s for a very famous supermodel. And she came in and requested something that I can't say on air, unfortunately. But if you do your research, then you might find out a little bit more about it.
Cool. And also, this is a question for anyone. Yep. So our very own May from Drinks Tube has said, Joey, if you don't have a coffee machine at home, what can you use instead?
Well, Nespresso style machines are a really good substitute. Obviously, not everybody, very, very few people in the world have a beautiful machine like this in their house.
Not even we do.
Not even you do, exactly. So I think Nespresso machines are great because that way you're going to get that oily, creamy crema that you get from an espresso, which works in an espresso martini. Various other ways of doing it. You can buy some fantastic cold brew coffees. AeroPresses are great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, AeroPress is a wonderful brew method. You can kind of emulate it to a point in espresso because AeroPress is. Do we have one to hand? No, we don't. But basically, it's we do. Yeah, you basically push the water through the coffee that's in the filter at the bottom. So you're not getting the same thing. It's more of a filter, but you do get some.
And if you're doing it at home, you might have to maybe just alter the ratio of vodka or coffee liqueur and add a little bit more to counteract the fact that the strength of something like an AeroPress isn't as much.
And using something like this as well, you've got more control over the coffee you use. So in espresso, you're limited to what you can.
Very true.
Choose. You can put whatever you want. You can put this very coffee in your AeroPress.
Nice. And I'm going to dive in at that point. If you want to know how to use an AeroPress, there's a tip on DrinksTube. So just head over to youtube.com/DrinksTube.
Of course there is.
Cool. So should we make this cocktail? That coffee looks nice and cool now.
Sure. So I have my beautiful El Salvador coffee. I'm going to do 30 ml. So again, 30 ml is kind of your perfect amount of espresso for the espresso martini. Gives just enough bitterness, just enough character. For this, I'm going to add 50 ml of Grey Goose Lepois. Now, using flavored vodkas with coffee cocktails may sound unusual, but it does work incredibly. You know the flavor wheel of coffee is one of the most varied products in the world for the amount of flavors it can produce. So don't just feel that you're tied to using a pure vodka, although as we've just discovered, it can make one of the best drinks in the world. But experiment with some different flavors. We've made quite a few with the Grey Goose range, with the citron and l'orange, and they all come out stunningly. So 50 ml there. I'm going to use 15 ml of coffee liqueur. And then 15 ml beautiful grade A maple syrup. As I said before, pear and maple is a match made in heaven.
It is.
Add some coffee into the mix of that and you're onto something special. So once again, really hard shake.
Joey, I don't think it's fair that you do all this work yourself.
I know.
Oh no.
Wow, what a-
How do I do it?
So,
Don't break it.
yeah, point it towards yourself.
Okay.
One hand on each.
Okay.
Go for it.
Yeah. I'm a natural.
What do you reckon, marks out of 10?
It's about 7, I'd say. I'll see worse. So what I'm also going to do here, just to lift this cocktail even further, I'm going to take a vanilla pod. I'm just going to trim it down. And then open it up. And what I'm going to do, see all those beautiful seeds there. I'm just going to rub this around the rim of the glass. So when you go to take a sip, you're going to get that incredible vanilla aroma coming through. And also on the taste buds as well. Those seeds are really going to lift this drink up.
Want
Cool.
some good look?
Oh yeah, sure. Perfect. Now the trick to see if you've shaken it right is to see how much of that velvety texture we're going to get. Oh, look at that. You're in luck today. Again, very simply, 3 coffee beans placed on top. And there we go. Who wants to try this? Down your end.
It's interesting you say about the technique of doing that because obviously it affects the chemistry of what's going on in your drink,
Yeah.
which is very similar to what you said in coffee. as
Of
well.
course, yeah. There's so many similarities between the coffee world and the drinks world, the spirits world. It's unbelievable, the parallels and everything.
That's much
We
brighter.
could speak for another 5 hours about that, so we don't have enough time today.
Yeah, it's much brighter, nice and acidic. Yeah, it's in a really good way.
Guys, thank you so much for joining.
See ya.
Have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.